Stephen Jones of the Dallas Cowboys said that they are prepared for George Pickens to play on the franchise tag this season. I'm here to let you all know that's going to be an issue. And then, while we're on the topic of the Dallas Cowboys, will it be a huge mistake for them to trade up in the first round of the draft? There's a lot of draft analysts that believe they will be trading up. And to end today's show, we're going to talk about C.J. Gardner-Johnson calling out the Philadelphia Eagles and the Philly fans for how they're treating A.J. Brown. Y'all know we're going to talk about it, break it all down, but you got to hear the music first.
Welcome to your number one spot for all NFL news and content, NFL Central.
What's going on, football fans, and welcome back into another episode of NFL Central, your number one spot for everything NFL. I'm your host here, Bobby, and I'm holding it down on today's daily episode. So if you're tuned in, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. We are just a day away from the NFL draft, and man, am I excited for that moment. But before we talk about the draft that's going to happen, we got to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. So this episode is going to be heavily centered around the Dallas Cowboys. First, talking about Stephen Jones of the Dallas Cowboys telling reporters today that they've decided wide receiver George Pickens will play on the franchise tag this season, and there won't be talks on a long-term deal. They also mentioned George Pickens has not signed that franchise tag yet. And this is why I'm a little weary about the entire situation. Y'all keep playing games with people in these contracts. And that goes for the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys, they love attention. They do. And for the people that are Dallas Cowboy fans, I rock with some of y'all. I really do. I can't rock with your owner, though. Your owner plays these games every single time one of the star players has to get paid. Why would you not go out there and try to lock up George Pickens for the foreseeable future? If you did not want him for the foreseeable future or years and years down the road, why did you trade for him initially? And why did you not trade him at the trade deadline last year? It made no sense. Now we're going to sit here and we're going to see if George Pickens is going to play on this franchise tag. We'll see if he pulls a Brandon Ayuk and just not show up anymore for work. But I think that this is partially on the front office of the Dallas Cowboys. And one of the reasons I really think it's on the Dallas Cowboys, the front office that is because the same representation that the front office of the Dallas Cowboys gave hell to when it came to fixing the Micah Parsons situation is the same representation that the Dallas Cowboys have to work with now to get George Pickens signed. We already seen multiple reports of Jerry Jones pretty much saying that he likes to discuss things with the players, but that's not how all negotiations work. There are some players around the league that may represent themselves, but there are other players around the league that have agents that are really good at their job. So why play these games? And I think this is going to build up to being something that could potentially turn into something sour because of who we know George Pickens to be. He had a couple character issues and situations with it during his time with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last year, there was some rumors that him and his representation wanted to talk extension during the season. Dallas declined. And we seen George Pickens get lackluster or give a lackluster performance on the actual football field when it kind of seemed like you guys shut it down. The reason why they keep getting themselves in this situation is simply because you don't strike when the iron is hot. When he got through the building or to the building, if you didn't re-up on him then and you wait until now and see what Jackson Smith and Jigba is getting paid, that's going to rise all boats, regardless if George Pickens he's not gonna get what Jackson Smith and Jigba got, of course, but that level of money, that amount of money that Seattle gave JSN, it's going to raise the market to where now George Pickens is going to look at them and say, hey, I'm definitely worth at least $30 million. I don't necessarily believe that, but that's for George Pickens to decide on how much he's worth, him and his representation. So for the Dallas Cowboys to constantly go through this same cycle, play these same games, it's great to talk about. It's great for us content creators, but at the end of the day, it's just annoying. Like when we really, really break this whole entire thing down. If you don't want the players long term, when it's time for contract time, get rid of them. There's other avenues that you can take. You, as the Dallas Cowboys, you have a good offensive line, you have a good quarterback, you building your defense, you can use draft capital by moving off George Pickens to get better. But it appears that they don't want to move off George Pickens, and that's fine. But this is what we expected at the end of the day. Did you not think that you will be coming to the table and talking a long-term deal with George Pickens? How can you not think that was going to be something that comes up during a time like this? And this is why, and this is totally off topic, but still has a correlation with the franchise tag. I'm not the best or the greatest Aaron Rodgers fan. You see the damn hat. But years ago, when he was encouraging players to sit out to get rid of the franchise tag, this is exhibit 5001. Get rid of the shit. But a lot of people was like, man, I can't mess up my money. Bro, you put some pressure on these guys. You can maneuver out of not just about anything, but you could have potentially changed the rules of the franchise tag, because now it's still in play to where you can have the franchise tag placed on you for 2 consecutive years. Maybe if you would have came in negotiation, maybe you say, okay, let's get it down to 1 year. Fine. Maybe not completely get rid of the franchise tag, but limit the amount of times that a team can tag you. Otherwise, bro could have said, all right, I'll sit out and I'll be good next year. That could have been an option for him. But it's not. Now you're really chained to this situation, regardless, George Pickens, regardless, NFL players. So for this entire situation, it's just the same old for Jerry Jones. And this is something that's going to be talked about all summer long. We're not going to cover it that much unless it's something crazy said to George Pickens or about Jerry Jones. But it's not going to be sitting here pounding a desk for them to pay him, because they know what they need to do. The only way we're going to keep you all updated on this situation if we're hearing progress being done or the situation worsening. We'll see what happens with that, though. You let me know your thoughts and everything down below. Now I want to talk about the draft and still stay on the Dallas Cowboys. Will it be a huge mistake if the Dallas Cowboys trade one of their first-round picks to move up in the draft? They currently hold current draft positions at 12 and in 20 from their own pick and the Michael Parsons pick from when they traded him to the Green Bay Packers. There are some people who believe that they should move up in the draft. I'm on the opposite side of that conversation. I do not believe that the Dallas Cowboys should be trading up for anything in the first round. Do not trade up. Do not trade up. You're in great position to get good players on that defensive side of the ball where you're currently standing. Where you're currently standing, you are really good to get players on the defensive side of the ball. That defense last year, and I know my Dallas Cowboys fans that watch, I know you guys were ticked off at that defense because your offense was so fucking good. If you had a competent defense and a competent defensive coordinator, you would have been potentially fighting for a playoff spot with the way that the offense can explode on any given football day. So if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, the only movement I'm doing is to move back And if you're moving back, you're not moving back that far out of the first round. Plus additional capital will be a plus. But I think you're in a prime spot at 12 and 20 to make moves. At the very least, if you move up, you swap first with somebody and maybe give up a day 3 pick or something. But at the very least, I am not moving up to remove myself from one of those first round picks and then ultimately ending up in the first round with only one first round pick. I think that is bad mismanagement. There are some really good pass rushers, really good players that are going to be available from 12 to 20. There's going to be some really good players there. It really is. We're talking about some defensive linemen that could potentially slip to you, and some really good defensive backs that's going to be available to you, linebackers that are going to be available to you within that range for you to capitalize on everything you need to do with that defense to get better. Now, we'll ask you all this. Who do you guys think will trade up, if any? Do you think there will be a lot of movement for teams moving up in the first round? I think there's 2 teams that I could potentially see moving up in the first round, not named the Dallas Cowboys. The first team is the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams currently sit at 13, and with them having Puka Nacua issues and trying to see if he can turn this behavior around, I think that they could potentially go and, jump a couple spots ahead for a wide receiver. And that's what makes their situation a lot different from Dallas. The Rams are ready to win now. So they can go out there and actually move up and say F those picks. So I think that could potentially be on the table for them if they have a wide receiver that they really, really like, and he's not that far away. Maybe a Jordan Tyson, maybe a Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon. Mekhi Lemon could potentially fall to him, but if they're not so high on Mekhi Lemon and they're more higher on the other 2 guys previously mentioned, I could potentially see them moving up in the draft. Another team I have is the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears currently sit at 25, and the Chicago Bears need a lot of help on the defensive line. So sitting at 25, yeah, there's going to be some pass rushers available to you, but the Chicago Bears just recently came out and said that they want to be adaptable to what the draft board is telling them. They're willing to move up, they're willing to move back. And I think that with them also needing pass rushing help, they also need defensive back help, more specifically safety help. So if they see a guy that they like, maybe a Dylan Thieneman, maybe an EMW, maybe you go up and do reach for a guy so you can select in the first round, and that can help this defense get better. My preference as a fan myself, I think you stay up at 25. If you move up, maybe just a couple slots, not to where you're hurting that much of your draft capital, because the Chicago Bears, they have a lot of things to build out on their defensive side of the ball, and they have to acquire some depth, and they can potentially shock everybody and trade stay put and draft an offensive lineman. I think that's on the table for them as well. Now, before we get up out of here, man, I want to talk about C.J. Garner-Johnson, defensive back now with the Buffalo Bills, I believe. He is a former Philadelphia Eagle, and he's calling out the city of Philly and Philly simply because he feel like they switched up on A.J. Brown. He just tweeted not too long ago and said, Philly turned on AJ so bad it's sad. Y'all love us when we help y'all win, but damn, why y'all bashing brother now? It is what it is. I think it's a double. I think it's one of those situations to where you look at it, and there's going to be some people that be like, come on, AJ, you in a good situation. We're going to keep helping you win. And that is fair. You know what I'm saying? Howie Roseman is probably my most favorite GM and executive around the league because how active he is and all the great moves that he does, and always having the foresight and not having the fear of switching things around when that time comes, moving off guys like Andy Reid, moving off Doug Peterson, getting rid of Carson Wentz, et cetera, despite these guys having some success within the organization. He's not afraid. But then on the other side, you look at it and you say, why on God's green earth should I be still supporting A.J. Brown when he was on the sideline reading books, caught being a distraction? When he was in the media last year, being a distraction. When he looked disengaged during certain games and certain moments during the latter part of the season. So I feel Philly fans that's rocking with him, and I understand that there's some players that are going to rock with him as well, but you got to look at some of the other side too. And I think it's fair for Philly fans, if you all are listening, for you guys to feel however you feel. We're going to fan how we are all fan, man. We're going to talk smack regardless of what team you root for. That's just how the shit go. And I think that if some people are not really feeling A.J. Brown, that's fair, bro. He's not innocent in anything that he has done over the last few seasons on that Eagle sideline and talking about scheme and talking about, a number of things to the media. I think some of that stuff rubs people the wrong way, and that's fair. And then there are some people that just don't care. And what I'm saying? They believe that some of his feelings was justified, really, if we keeping it real. So I think it's one of those situations, man, like I feel CJ Gardner-Johnson, and I do feel like there should be a little appreciation for the championships and for the winning ways that come to your city for whatever team you represent. I think at the end of the day, man, people are going to fan how they fan. And I think sometimes people can be a little too overboard with it and go too far and be behind a keyboard and talk too crazy. And I think that's, what I'm saying? It's not my style. Sometime it go overboard and you can call it out. And then I think on the other side is some people that's just going to be more appreciative to the winning that a said player or a said team has brought to their city. So however it works out over there with Philly, the expectation is that after June 1st, A.J. Brown is likely to get traded. Me and Steve-O broke that down. And I think that it's going to be an interesting thing to follow throughout this entire offseason and during the summer, man. It's going to be a lot of fun covering all this stuff just for the love of the game, bro. For the love of the game. And we'll see where it all ends. But let me know, do you feel like CJ Gardner-Johnson was fair in calling out Philly fans? And should Philly fans have a right? Do they have a right to call him out? Like, let's call it how we see it. Do they have a right to call him out for all the things, that he has done? And now they're done with him like they feel he's been done with them. So I think it's fair on both sides, though. But hey, that is it for me today, y'all. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode of NFL Central. Before you get up out of here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well, man. I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all always love football, and y'all already know we're going to catch y'all on the next one for sure. Draft night tomorrow. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks